I never expected the thing that would change everything to be 11 trucks, not a flood, not a drought, not a foreclosure notice or a crooked deed or a county meeting I wasn't invited to. 11 trucks, rolling across the south pasture before I'd finished my first cup of coffee. Headlights cutting the fog, steel frames stacked in the beds like bones, and not one of them had asked permission. My name is Ethan Calloway. This is Calloway Ridge Ranch. 4 generations of my family's work, sweat, and stubbornness baked into every acre. And that morning, someone had decided it was theirs to use without so much as a knock on my door. If you've ever had your land, your property, your livelihood treated like a resource someone else had the right to just take, drop a justice in the comments. You're not alone. And stick around, because what I did next, they did not see it coming. The morning started the way most mornings do out here. Dark, quiet, cold enough that the horses breathed steam and the frost held the grass flat like it was pinned down. I saddled up early, habit from my father. My father used to say a rancher who waits for full daylight is already behind. I wasn't expecting trouble. I was checking the southern fence line after 3 days of hard wind. Wind does things to old fencing, loosens posts, snaps wire. I found the fence. Or rather, I found where the fence used to be. 460 feet of it, gone. Not damaged, not knocked sideways. Gone. The posts had been pulled clean from the earth. I could see the holes still dark with moisture. This wasn't wind damage. This wasn't cattle. This was deliberate. I dismounted and pressed 2 fingers into the nearest hole. The soil was cold, but not frozen. Whoever did this came through in the last 12 hours, maybe less. I stood up and looked south. That's when I saw the trucks. 11 of them. Work trucks. Heavy-duty, commercial-grade, logos on the doors I didn't recognize. They were already moving through the gap where my fence had stood, rolling across the south pasture in a slow convoy. Ahead of them, 2 men in reflective vests were driving survey stakes into my soil. I climbed back into the saddle, rode toward them at a walk, steady, measured. My horse knew something was wrong before I said a word, ears pinned, neck tight. The convoy stopped when they saw me. A man in a company vest climbed out of the lead truck, clipboard in hand, hard hat pushed back on his head. He waved like we were old friends. "Morning," he said. "You the neighbor?" I looked at him. "I'm the owner." His name was Garrett, project foreman for a company called Sunridge Energy Solutions. He said it like it should mean something to me. It didn't. He pulled a document from his clipboard and handed it over with the confidence of a man who'd never been questioned. I read it slowly. I read everything slowly. My grandfather taught me that. He said most people who rush through documents do it because they're hoping you will too. The document was a State Energy Commission permit, filed 6 weeks ago. The land description listed my parcel number, not an adjacent parcel, not the county's right-of-way. Mine, parcel 47C, Calloway Ridge, filed under the agricultural land designation my great-grandfather had registered in 1951. At the bottom, under owner consent, 4 words were typed in standard form font. Assumed non-objection, public benefit. I read that line 3 times. Assumed, non-objection, public, benefit. "When did I receive notice of this filing?" I asked. Garrett shifted. "The commission handles all the notifications. That's not really our department." "When was the public hearing held?" "There's an expedited approval pathway for qualifying energy projects. Your parcel met the criteria, so..." "When?" I said again. He looked at his clipboard. "I don't have that information on site." I handed the permit back to him, folded, the way I'd received it. Precisely. "Pull your crews," I said. "Sir, we have a state-issued..." "You have a document," I said. "Whether it's valid is a different matter. And until I've spoken to someone who can answer my questions about how it was obtained, no one drives another foot across this property." Garrett reached for his radio. I reached for my phone. I called Clare, land rights attorney. She picked up on the second ring. "Tell me everything," she said, "and don't move until I get there." Claire arrived in 40 minutes. She didn't slow down when she pulled through the gate. She was out of the car before it fully stopped, reading the permit before I finished handing it to her. We set up at the kitchen table, maps spread across the surface, my family's survey plats going back to 1951, county GIS overlays, the permit, and Claire's laptop open to the State Energy Commission's public records portal. She found the problem within 20 minutes. "Look at this timestamp," she said, turning the screen toward me. "The permit was filed on a Friday at 4:47 p.m. 13 minutes before the commission office closes," I said. "Right. Now look at the public notice log." She clicked through to a separate record. "There is a public notice filed for this project, correctly formatted, but the parcel number in the notice is 47D, not your parcel, the one 2 miles north." I leaned closer. They filed the notice for a different parcel. "Intentionally or negligently," Claire said. "Now this is where it gets worse." The approval had been signed by a State Energy Commission planner, a man named H. Broward. Claire showed me his personnel record. He had retired from the commission 11 months ago. His access credentials were used 14 weeks after he left. The room went quiet. "Someone used a former employee's login," I said. "Someone, or someone let them. Either way, this permit was processed outside of any legitimate approval chain. They didn't make an administrative error. They engineered one." The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. Sunridge Energy's legal team filed for an emergency injunction to resume construction. They argued the project was time-sensitive and for the public benefit. Claire answered every motion with documents. She subpoenaed the commission's internal email logs, and she contacted 2 neighboring ranchers, the Delacroix family and old Warren Pfeiffer, who had each received similar notices. They had both signed, because they hadn't read what they were signing carefully enough. The Inspector General's office announced it had opened an investigation. H. Broward confirmed he had not authorized the permit. The name that emerged from the email logs was a commission coordinator who had previously worked as a consultant for Sunridge Energy Solutions. A revolving door. Claire stood in front of the judge. She laid out every document, every timestamp. The judge read in silence for a long time. "Counsel," she said, "your client does not have a valid permit. I am voiding this permit as of today. I am referring this matter to the State Attorney General." The trucks were gone by evening. The survey stakes Sunridge's crew had driven into my soil. I pulled every one of them out myself, by hand, stood them in a pile at the edge of the road, a small thing. But it mattered to me. My fence line is whole again. I put new posts in myself. Land has a long memory, so do ranchers. They call it the greater good, but the law doesn't allow that to be a shortcut around your rights. If this story hit something real for you, drop a justice in the comments. Subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.